Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Veterans Arts on Air. I am your host, Melvin A. Lyons, joined with a special guest host today from the museum.
I'm George Tamayan. I'm the social media and communications coordinator at the museum.
All right. Now, we've got a pretty interesting show for you all today. I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the things that we have done over the course of this last year here at the museum, as well as talk about a few upcoming events that we've got going on. As well as always, we'll round out the evening with 5 for 5, our top 5. 5 people you did not or may not have known were U.S. veterans. So, let's go ahead and kick this off. Some of our old news. Last month, for Veterans Day, we successfully opened 100 Faces of War. We would like to thank the artist Matt Mitchell, along with the National Veterans Arts Museum Board and staff members, as well as the volunteers who came out and supported us on Veterans Day for the opening of this exhibit. It was a really great turnout. Matt, of course, with a bunch of other people from the museum, some of our student volunteers there at Veterans Day, signing autographs and talking about the artwork that he created and what drew him to the 100 Faces of War. As many of you may know, that Matt joined us on air prior to the opening of the exhibit here on CAN TV to talk a little bit about what he was expecting to see and things of that. So we're very grateful to have that exhibit open in such a high fashion. All right. Also, what else have we done? Exquisite Corpse and the cups from Aaron Toole.
That's right. We've got some things that we need to get back to our audience members. So if you were here, if you were at the museum this past summer in July when Aaron Toole was doing his occupation of the museum, then he made a custom cup for a lot of people, and some people are still waiting to get their cups back. We still have a lot of cups with people's names on them. So anyone who's trying to reclaim their cup, just shoot us an email or give us a call, and we can get that shipped out to you. And Exquisite Corpses from the Surrealism in War exhibition. We still have a lot of those with people's names on them too, so we're trying to get those back as well.
Absolutely. One thing about the National Veterans Arts Museum, we do create a lot of artwork with the people in mind, and we do a lot of workshops to bring people into the museum. So we love the artwork, and as much as we would love to keep those things, I know some of you all would really like to have those things back. So if you email at info@nvam.org, you can provide a mailing address, and we can make sure we get those shipped back to you along with your name and everything else. So you got that. Also, upcoming events. All right. So this coming up Saturday, December 6th, we have War Stories, Our Stories, which will be at the museum, a workshop that we will be putting together with a group of students from the After School Matters program, as well as our National Veterans Arts Museum volunteers who will be working together with their ASM groups for that particular workshop or series. So this, again, is a series of students, and they'll be showcasing the artwork that was done by the National Veterans Arts Museum Teen Council, as well as the After School Matters Photo Stories Apprentice. So you want to tell us what time that will be going?
Yeah, so that's going to be from 3 to 5 p.m. this Saturday, and we've been working with these kids for the whole past year, and they've just been showcasing some pretty amazing stuff. A lot of it has been on our social media pages and our website, but this is the culmination of it all, so this is kind of their chance to really show off their final projects and a lot of work that I know they're proud of and we're really proud of too. So
absolutely. I think that any of us who have ever worked with youth know that the creative voice that comes from the innocence of some of our youth is some of the best work that you will ever see. And also, it gives us a chance oftentimes to take a look at the world through the eyes of those who are still growing up to learn what it's becoming. So some of the things that our youth have to say is very intriguing, that, you know, sometimes make us as adults have to stop and sit back and think about what it is that we're doing in the world that we are leaving behind for these youth. So this Saturday, if you all are free from 3 to 5 at the National Veterans Arts Museum, again, you will be able to not only see the artwork that they've created, but also talk to some of our youth about the things that have inspired them to create such wonderful pieces of work. All right. Also, when we're talking about people and the creative things that we're doing, we would like to say thank you to some anonymous people who have been nice enough to donate to our museum. They've done a wonderful job in helping us, keeping our doors open. So even though you have not given us a name, we do definitely want to say thank you to those folks for making sure that, helping us and our veterans continue the work that we do. So peace and blessings. Hats off to you. Much love. Let's see. This wintertime, it's starting to get cold outside. I know a lot of people are looking for things to do. So the museum is putting out a call for volunteers and interns. So, George, I know you worked as an intern at the museum for quite a while. So why don't we first start by talking a little bit about your experience as an intern at the museum?
Yeah, definitely. So I started out in August of 2013 as originally just a social media intern.
Okay.
And there was a lot of room there. I wasn't ever given any one specific thing that I had to do. I was given a lot of room to really kind of grow and carve a role.
Okay.
And so starting out with essentially just the Facebook, the Twitter, and then at the time there was Pinterest and LinkedIn, which are still in the works. But Facebook and Twitter, I would say, were our strongest presences back then and still are now. And so that was initially the kind of work that I sought to take on. Since then, as the pages have grown, I did another internship in the spring, kept doing those roles, and then from then my title kind of broadened to communications in general. So as the position shifted from an internship to an actual staff position, it was no longer just social media, but kind of expanding out into more communications. So it's been a really positive experience. It's been a really rewarding experience. I love the work I do, and I would definitely encourage, if you are looking to get involved with this organization, or just something to do during the holidays, it's a really great opportunity.
So I noticed on top of the social media stuff that you've done, I always, often when we're doing exhibits and especially the openings, I see you running around with the camera. So I've seen you work with our media, not just our social media, but our media as well. Also, some of the images that we see here when we're on the air here, as well as the flyers that we put out from some of our various workshops, are also designed by you as well, right?
Yeah. So that's partly what falls under communications. Basically, I just saw that we had all this great stuff going on all the time, and I thought we really need to make more of an effort to document this and get this out there. And so I tried to, whether it's a programming event or an exhibition or any other offsite or onsite event going on at the museum, I tried to make sure to document it and get it out there because there is so much great stuff going on.
Well, I can definitely say I've seen the work. I've been a part of the work, and it's a great job. There's some photos of me floating around out there that's like, man, I didn't know I could look that good. But no, in all honesty,
we've got a good subject in the photos.
You've done a lot of great work there, and we are looking for more volunteers and more interns who are just as enthusiastic as you were to come in and help out with the museum, to kind of learn the ropes and get some practical experience in the field that they are looking for. So if museum studies or social media or communications is something that you're into, as well as a host of other things, again, you can find information on our website at National Veterans Arts Museum, or NVAM.org. You can also email at info@nvam.org and tell us a little bit about what you're interested in, and we'll see what we can do to get you guys in there. Also, in that same token, we are gearing up now that our teen council is getting ready to wrap up their work for this year, starting the new teen council in the spring of 2005. So any youth that are out there, or any of you all who know some young people who are looking to get involved, this would also be a great opportunity for them as well. All right. So you can check out After School Matters and apply for the NVAM Teen Council. It's a month-long apprenticeship that utilizes the museum space and technology and uses different types of art form to create a unique and personal story. All right. So it should be a good time for a lot of our youth out there.
In the time that I've been here, I've only seen the kids produce like really talented work, and I feel that that's something that we always notice coming from the visitors too, is the youth artwork, not just the artwork from our collection, but also the interactive work that our teens are making throughout the week. It always draws a strong reaction. So yeah, we've only been blessed with great groups in the past, and I feel that it'd be great to have another talented group in the spring. So we're looking forward to it.
All right. Yeah, I will definitely say each workshop that I've taught or been a part of with those youth, or everything that I taught them, they took it and they grew it tenfold. Like I would teach them the basics, and they would take what we had learned and create something that I never imagined that I would see. So they've done a lot of great work, and it's been a pleasure working with them. And so I definitely look forward to working with our next crop of students to come in as well. Right. So with that being said, we talked about some of the things that we've got coming up. So this year, November 11th, Veterans Day, we celebrated 2 years of the National Veterans Arts Museum being located in the Portage Park neighborhood, 4041 North Milwaukee. And in that time, we've had a lot of interesting things come through the museum. So I'm going to name off a couple of these exhibits. And since you've been there just as long as the museum's been in that location, we'll get your kind of perspective on what you remember most about some of these different exhibits. So the first one, Esprit de Corps.
Yeah.
Now, that one ran from what time now?
Veterans Day of 2013 up until August 1st of 2014. So it came down pretty recently, and it debuted on Veterans Day of the year before.
All right. So what is one thing, if you could take a snapshot of that particular exhibit, what would you take away from that one?
There were a lot of really powerful pieces. I think one thing that definitely stands out in my mind was Jerry Freck's journal series. It was the all these different little moleskin notebooks that he had, or sketch pads where he had just drawn, whether it's Humvees going down the roads, or but it's a really intimate look at his time and when he was deployed, and you can see his artist practice growing. You can see the sketches gain more attention to like light, shadow, contrast, all those things as he just documents his deployment through his drawings. So I always remember those drawings being powerful, and I saw a lot of people, put the gloves on, because you had to wear gloves to
in order to handle,
flip through it. Yeah, so I always remember seeing a lot of people crowded around with the gloves on, just flipping through his work.
Okay. Also around that time, May 25th of 2013 through May of 2014, we had Tenacity and Truth. So what about that one? What can you tell me about that particular exhibit?
I do remember there's one piece in particular called Rockets 1, and what struck me about it was that just walking by, it looks kind of like a sunset or like a dawn or dusk scene, but then you get closer and you can see it's just light pollution from a bunch of rockets and artillery being launched. So that was one piece that really stuck out to me, but that was a great exhibit. It closed shortly after my time in the spring internship, so I didn't get to spend too much time there, but yeah, I do remember that piece, Rockets 1, and yeah, overall it was a great exhibit.
All right. Well, Surrealism in War was the most recent that we've had come through. That piece, I remember when I first saw it, kind of struck me kind of hit me and kind of took me aback, and I think it brought up some memories that I wasn't quite ready to have to deal with at the time. But what do you remember specifically about that piece?
Well, yeah, it's hard to forget the wall and the skull in particular. Just that massive. It's not just the size and scale of the piece, but the subject matter too. All the evolution from the different skulls and the kind of more macabre material, all the way to the birds and the wings at the end of the piece. Yeah. And the skull too. But what also struck me was not just the piece itself, but Jim Leedy's story about the piece. When he recounts that memory of his where he was swimming around in the lakes and looked down past his reflection through the water and could see all the dead bodies that had accumulated. I think it's a really pretty moving story, but also just to see the wall with that context in mind, it makes it even more,
I agree. I think I'd heard about it because we were doing the show here, but I purposely stayed out of the museum until the opening. And so while I was preparing myself for the wall, the first thing I see when I went around the corner was the skull, because I went around the back way, which I often did. I went around the back way, and the first thing that hits me is that skull, and I literally can say it took my breath away for a moment because I wasn't expecting it. So that was something that will always stick out with me. Like the memory of it after seeing it multiple times. Like, all right, but that initial reaction is like, oh wow, like this is big, you know. So definitely, and always I've talked about this one several times. The things they carried. One of my personal favorite museum or exhibits. So, can you tell me about the new look of that exhibit?
Yeah, so the exhibit has come a long way. It's moved throughout various parts of the museum, but I think it's now found its home within the museum, which is that back space where Esprit de Corps was. And it's become a much more interactive experience again, whereas it used to be mostly photo-based. Now there's all kinds of things. There's a cot, there's a tent set up. We have a mannequin that has the gear that they wore at the time in the Army on display. And then there's, the objects and the ephemera. There's the can opener, the pound cake, all the kind of iconic imagery from Tim O'Brien's book.
Okay. Absolutely. Also, in this past year, there were a lot of nominations for awards. There was the nomination for the National Medal from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, national and international presence, satellite locations at Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Hall in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The National Veterans Arts Museum education team went to MozFest over in London. So just a lot of good things that we've got a chance to see this year, and hopefully many more to come. Some of the workshops that we've done, Aaron O'Toole's occupation, which of course is where the cups were made. Jerry Freck's painting workshops, the graffiti workshops done by myself and various other artists, poetry reading and writing workshops with the Warrior Writers Project, mask making with Jeff's Inside Out Art Studio, which is also located in the same building as the Veterans Arts Museum. So it's been a pretty good run this year.
It's been a good year, yeah.
Definitely, I'm kind of looking forward to what's coming up next. 2015 looks like it'll be shaping up for a new year. So, with that being said, this upcoming year, it's a good time now to start calling and scheduling your tours, the school tours or group tours, any of those things we'll have coming up. Stay tuned. We've got some big news coming up from or about Above and Beyond. Can't quite say anything just yet, but that one should be pretty big, and it's an official announcement will be coming within the next few weeks. So hopefully by next month's show, we'll be able to share that bit of information with you all as well. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into one of my favorite new segments of the show, which is our Take 5. Famous people that you may not have known were U.S. veterans, and I'm a little excited about this one that we've got coming up this month. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. The first one, Charles Schultz, U.S. Army. At the age of 20, Schultz was drafted to the U.S. Army in 1943 during World War II. He became a squad leader of a 50 cal machine gun. He only had one occasion to have to use his machine gun, but he had forgotten to load it. German soldiers would have been shot, lived to surrender.
When he returned from war, he became a famous professional cartoon artist with his series Peanuts in 1950, which is probably everyone can recognize that. That was in 1950. Schultz drew for it for about 50 years until his passing.
Every Veterans Day in Peanuts, Snoopy would don his World War I Flying Ace or World War II combat uniform. All right, on to our next veteran. This one rather interesting. We have here Ernest Hemingway. Volunteered in 1918 during World War I to serve as a Red Cross ambulance driver in Italy. He was 18 years old.
He was wounded by mortar fire and sustained shrapnel wounds to his legs. Despite being hurt, he helped carry a wounded Italian soldier and received the Italian Silver Medal of Bravery.
During his recovery in the hospital in Milan, Italy, he fell in love with a Red Cross nurse. Although they had planned to marry, she rejected him in a letter. Ouch.
Hemingway's experience of war and love influenced his second major work, A Farewell to Arms.
Alrighty. This next one, we have Eric Arthur Blair, also known as George Orwell, traveled to Spain in the 1930s to fight for the Republican faction in the Spanish Civil War. He declared that he was fighting to end fascism.
He was shot in the throat by a sniper, but he did make a full recovery.
Famous works include Animal Farm, 1984, and Homage to Catalonia, which documents his experience in the Spanish Civil War. Next, we have Joseph Heller, U.S. Army Air Corps.
He joined the U.S. Army Air Corps in 1942 at the age of 19, and 2 years later he was sent to the Italian front.
He flew 60 combat missions as a B-25 bombardier.
And the title Catch-22 is in the English lexicon now, referring to the vicious cycle where no matter what choice you give, a negative outcome occurs. So that's the no-win scenario.
Alrighty, and this one here, that final one, last but not least, J.R.R. Tolkien, known for the Lord of the Rings series. He was a second lieutenant in the 11th Lancaster Fusiliers during World War I.
He participated in the Battle of Somme, but his unit did suffer heavy losses. Most of the battalion perished or were taken as POWs, and Tolkien was able to survive despite trench fever, which allowed him to be removed from the front.
He was unable to take part in World War II due to his health. Although he trained to serve as a code breaker, his services were never requested. Wow, that's pretty much a pretty big who's who of some of the icons of literature that we've had here over the years. So we got the Spanish Civil War, World War I, World War II. We've been kind of all over the place. So
kind of covering a lot of ground. And some of these artists or authors, I think everyone has kind of known or studied for a long time, but I had no idea they were veterans. So
no, that's always the good part about doing this, because every time I come in, my producers, they always try to stump me as to what we're going to see. Like, I come in, it's like, I'm going to know most of these. And then I get here, it's like, yeah, didn't know that one, didn't see that one coming, and so on and so forth. So that was pretty nice take 5. Look it out there, Destiny. So with that being said, we've got a few more minutes to kind of wrap up. Coming close to the end of the year, we still got one more month to go, but what are some of the things that you are looking forward to seeing coming up here at the museum?
I'm looking forward to our communications team growing for sure. We have a lot of work that's could be kind of elaborated on or expanded upon. I know with the camera for sure.
Yeah.
I could always use a hand with that. But that's kind of where my focus has been. So that's where I'm looking on growing. But all over the place, education is doing huge things. There's going to be another great ASM program, I'm sure, and there's just it's an exciting time, and I think there's a lot of room for growth, but a lot of exciting things on the horizon. So
all right. Well, with that being said, before we get off the air, I would like to say a special farewell to my former co-host, who is going on to complete her doctor's degree. So Sarah, as much as fun as it was having you here, can't wait to get you back on the show as a guest. Also to Levi, who was the executive at the museum, spent a lot of time working with this guy as well. Your services, both of you, will be truly missed. And with that being said, the country that we're living in right now is going through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of unfair practices being had. So all I can say is us as a people, our lives do matter, the lives of our youth do matter. And no matter what is going on in this world, we need to continue that fight and never let up. So I will continue fighting on my end. I expect you all to do the same. Peace and blessings, and we'll see you next month.